Microexpression recognition. Train yourself to identify the 7 universal expressions: anger, fear, disgust, surprise, happiness, sadness, and contempt. Start with longer displays and gradually reduce viewing time. Try watching emotionally charged television with the sound muted to focus entirely on facial movements during moments of tension. Baseline observation. Establish behavioral patterns for people during neutral conversations. Note their typical speaking pace, gesture frequency, vocal qualities, and facial animation. This trains your attention to notice individual differences, rather than applying generic interpretations. Language pattern analysis. Analyze conversations for linguistic indicators, distancing language, pronoun use, sensory details, and qualification phrases. This trains your ear to notice these patterns in real time without written analysis. Have you noticed how your friends' speaking patterns change when discussing sensitive topics? What baseline behaviors have you observed in your regular interactions? Integrated practice. Use news interviews to practice multiple detection skills simultaneously. Establish baseline behavior during non-controversial portions, then watch for clusters of changes when the conversation shifts to difficult topics. This develops your ability to recognize behavioral clusters rather than isolated signs. In everyday practice, incorporate these observations naturally into normal interactions. Ask open-ended questions about neutral topics to establish baselines, then notice if patterns change when conversation shifts. Maintain curiosity rather than suspicion, approaching the practice as an exploration of human communication. Feedback is essential for improving accuracy. Without knowing when you're right or wrong, you might reinforce incorrect assumptions. Notice when your observations are later confirmed or contradicted by additional information. Did the behavioral patterns you noticed actually correlate with later discovered truth? Resources for continued learning include What Everybody is Saying by Joe Navarro, Telling Lies by Paul Ekman, Spy the Lie by Philip Houston, online courses from the Paul Ekman Group, certification programs from the Center for Body Language. Consider Michael's experience. After 6 months of practice, he noticed his teenage son's microexpressions of distress despite verbal assurances that everything was fine. Rather than challenging him, Michael created space for open conversation, eventually learning about bullying issues his son had been concealing. These skills didn't just help me catch a lie, Michael shared. They helped me understand when someone I care about needed support they couldn't ask for directly. How might these skills transform your important relationships? When have you sensed something was being withheld, but couldn't pinpoint why? Maintain a learning mindset, rather than assuming expertise too quickly. The Dunning-Kruger effect proves particularly dangerous in deception detection. Beginners often express the highest confidence, while genuine experts recognize the complexity and limitations of these skills. Approach your development with humility, recognizing that proficiency develops over years rather than days. With consistent practice and ethical application, you develop a nuanced understanding of human communication that extends beyond spotting lies. You begin perceiving rich layers of meaning in interactions, the alignment or disconnect between words, expressions, body language, and vocal qualities. You notice internal conflict, passion, struggle to articulate complex thoughts, and complete congruence across all channels. This deeper awareness transforms how you experience human interaction. You recognize patterns revealing internal states, allowing you to respond with greater empathy. You become more attentive to complete messages rather than just words. Most importantly, you develop appreciation for the complexity of human communication. People rarely fit into simple categories of truthful or deceptive, but express themselves through intricate combinations of authentic sharing, social performance, emotional management, and occasional deception. As we reach the end of our exploration, consider what you've truly gained beyond techniques for catching someone in a lie. You've developed a framework for understanding the full spectrum of human communication. The complex interplay between words, expressions, movements, and voice that reveals our internal worlds. When applied ethically, these skills create deeper connections based on genuine understanding. You recognize internal conflict, offer compassion instead of interrogation, and appreciate authentic communication. The goal was always about developing awareness to navigate relationships with wisdom and compassion, creating space for truth to emerge naturally.